that was when I started to discover things about myself that I thought, wait, there's things in there that I thought were true about me that aren't even true. And that was the core basis of how I had lived my life and the basis of why I did the people pleasing and the over excelling, overachieving, trying to be the good girl, and some childhood trauma that I had literally buried till I was almost 50, and so much of who I was. And that was when I realized there's a lot of people walking around the earth believing things about themselves that are a bunch of lies that aren't even true. And I found hypnotherapy that way. Wasn't what I expected. And that's sort of the beginning. We can keep going, but that was really how I found it.
Alrighty, it is time to stop hitting snooze and awaken to a life worth being, the fun and inspiring podcast that dives deep into what makes life truly fulfilling. I'm your host, Sue Willoughby, a self-proclaimed badass transformational life coach for women over 40. Join me as I explore the extraordinary journeys of ordinary people who've transformed their lives from the inside out. Tune in weekly to uncover the secrets to smashing through your perceived limits and creating a life that's not just well lived, but totally worth being. Hey everyone, welcome back to another wonderful episode of A Life Worth Being. Today's guest is the powerful and deeply inspiring Christina L. Woods, an internationally recognized clinical hypnotherapist. I keep wanting to say hippotherapist. You don't therapize hippos. No, that's wrong. Clinical hypnotherapist, rapid transformational therapist, empowerment coach, and Reiki master. She does all the things, and I love that. As the founder and CEO of Wise Woods Hypnotherapy, Christina blends 3 decades of corporate leadership with her lifelong spiritual practice to guide women through profound healing and transformation. Her signature Wise Woods method helps smart, capable women break free from burnout, ditch self-sabotage, boy, we all need that, and align with their most authentic, empowered selves. So, if you're ready to rewrite your story and reclaim your worth, this is an episode that you won't want to miss. Christina, welcome to the show. I'm so thrilled to have you here today.
I'm really happy to be here, Sue. Thanks so much.
Hippotherapy. Do you like that?
Yeah, that's a good one. I love it. I used to work at Disneyland, and I was actually one time the prima hippo ballerina from Fantasia. So there you go.
Okay, perfect. It's a great segue into your career. Well, it's funny because I am an equus coach, and people are like, "Well, what is that? You coach horses, or
Right.
what is that?" And I'm also an equine massage therapist, and they're like, how do you get them onto the table? I'm like, really? You asking me that?
Not
It's
gonna do
funny,
that.
people's perceptions of things, right? So I would love to get just a little bit of background. I know you spent, decades in corporate America and lived to tell the tale. Not that it's a bad place, but we all have to make it through some things. I spent a great deal in time in corporate America as well. Let me know a little bit about your personal transition into healing and coaching and hypnotherapy.
Sure, sure. So yeah, I was in the higher education space for a really long time. It was definitely my identity, which sort of happens when you do things for that long. It's like I can't do anything else. This is who I am, and you sort of just hop around from place to place until I hit a wall, and I found my 25-year marriage was not that great. My health was falling apart, and I found myself picking some weeds in the backyard one day, and I literally heard a voice, and it was basically, when are you going to stop trying to do what makes everybody else happy and just do what makes you happy? And it literally just kind of stopped me in my tracks. And of course, this is years of complete burnout and on airplanes back and forth across the country, leading teams, reports until 2 a.m, doing what I thought I needed to do. And the bank account was fine, but my habits weren't great. My health wasn't great. Just burning the candle at both ends, trying to be super mom as well. I had 2 boys, trying to be, the great wife and all the things, look cute at the same time, and none of it was really working out that great. So, when I heard that voice, it was first of all, it was this sense of, boy, that was a pretty bold kinda slap in the face, like, you're kinda calling me out on my own shit here, and it really was a wake-up call, like, I knew my marriage was over and I was gonna have to do something about it, I couldn't pretend anymore, and I just knew I didn't wanna do corporate anymore, I didn't leave in that moment, but I knew I wanted to create a path where I needed to find out why I kept doing things that didn't make me happy. I didn't really even know what that looked like. So I dove into something I was really afraid of. I'd always read a lot of self help books, but I'd never really dove into therapy. I was too scared. I didn't really want to find out that stuff about me. And I sort of like, read the books, did some meditations, went on some retreats, but that looked good and felt good, but the deep stuff was like, "Yeah, no, I don't wanna do that," and I knew I needed to do that, so I did it, and that was when I started to discover things about myself that I thought, "Wait, there's things in there that I thought were true about me that aren't even true," and that was the core basis of how I had lived my life and the basis of why I did the people pleasing and the over excelling, overachieving, trying to be the good girl, and um, some childhood trauma that I had literally buried till I was almost 50, and so much of who I was. And, that was when I realized there's a lot of people walking around the earth believing things about themselves that are a bunch of lies that aren't even true. And I found hypnotherapy that way. Wasn't what I expected, and that's sort of the beginning. We can keep going, but that was really how I found it.
We're gonna call you the weed whisperer.
I know,
I love that. I love that. I was pulling weeds and I heard a voice. I'm like,
not
"Okay."
glamorous. I was
Right?
in my
Hey,
PJ Maxx pajamas, and there we are.
whatever it takes, right? I mean, we all have those wake up calls, and sometimes we have had those wake up calls. We just choose not to listen to the weeds, right? We like
Right.
to be in the weeds.
I know, and I say now, we get to the root of your problem, and I think about the weeds. I'm like, okay, oh boy, oh boy.
So many good marketing lines can
Yeah,
come out of that,
yeah.
right? Well, that's really cool. And that story is it's not a story, but I mean, your journey is so familiar
It
to
is.
so many women our age. I mean, women from 40s on up, they're at this point in their life that are like that they just, don't know where to go, right? Like you said, your identity might be wrapped up in your family or your work or your
Sure.
whatever. And it's like, this is who I am, but is it? Right? But
Right.
is it?
Yeah, and, I think, we we can change in many ways, but where I was, and I find a lot of the people that I work with, we get to a point where we're sick of feeling shitty. We're sick of feeling that way. That's really where I was. It's like, well, why do I keep getting promotions and keep getting into debt? Because I was trying to feel better. Why do I keep losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight? Why do I keep healing myself and getting sick again? Why do I keep, yelling at my kids when I'm impatient? Why do I keep doing these things? And so you get to a point where, I don't want to do those things anymore. And I really want to find out why I'm doing those. And so it's almost a voice that says you are not in alignment and you're worth more. And let's find out why. And you're not thinking these things at the time, but that's what happens in the end is, yeah, you're out of alignment. You're not living your truth. And, unfortunately, a 25-year marriage, maybe it would have been different if I found my alignment sooner. But yeah, it was the right person for a while. And absolutely, now looking back, I wouldn't be doing this. It wouldn't have been the right alignment and a whole new life now in alignment. And looking back, when you help people find the root of so much of their beliefs, it really allows you, I think when I listened to the last episode, something that you just had, she said something that really is so true. When you see something, you can't unsee it. When you know something, you can't unknow it. And that is something with hypnotherapy. It's a paradigm shift that is really wonderful for people.
Yeah. Yes, very well put, and I love that you started to question the why,
Mhm.
right? Not just like, "I don't want I need to do this, I need to do that, I know I could be a better person, blah, blah, blah," but you're like, "Why am I not taking steps in that direction?" What that
Yeah,
curiosity is
yeah.
a big, big factor, I believe, and like you said, you're like, "Well, I read some self-help books and I did some stuff," but when we started to peel back the layers, I was like, "Oh, one layer too many. Let's put that layer back up there. I'm not ready to go there yet." Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, nope, nope,
Nope,
and,
nope.
no one else is gonna do it. No one's coming, and it is scary, and that's okay until you realize, "Well, I can keep feeling this way, or I can find out why,"
Mhm,
and, it is painful and there's a process, but it's certainly better on the other side, and I can, remember when you start to see a pattern, that's when you start to get curious, and curiosity sometimes is all you got,
mhm.
and that's fantastic. It's like, let's get curious about that, start there, and, like, that's a great stepping stone sometimes. That's all you have, and from there, you get curious and you learn more and you peel it back and you start to evolve because we're certainly not born sabotaging our lives. And there are parts of us that believe it's doing the best for us for a reason. Let's find out the reason. Um, we're not meant to go into debt or do unhealthy habits for ourselves or ruin relationships or those things. Let's find out why we're doing it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Well, now that we're on the topic of self-sabotage, right? Let's talk about that and how the work that you do with hypnotherapy, because I also want to talk a little bit about hypnotherapy in and of itself, because I think people may not understand exactly what it entails, like what a
Sure.
session might look like or whatever, because I think they've seen a lot of people do, hypnosis and you think you're going to be squawking like a chicken or some
Yeah. Yeah.
weird thing that they're going to implant. But so I'd like you to kind of talk about hypnotherapy and also around the area of self sabotage and how,
Sure.
if that helps.
Sure. So, real simple, hypnotherapy is just a place. We have certain brain waves. Like when you go to sleep, you go into a different brain wave than when you and I are talking right now. And hypnotherapy is a really natural state. It's not, you don't go into a trance, it's not a switch, and you don't get stuck. I know when I said I was going to start doing this, my kids said, "Oh my gosh, mom, you're like the guy at the fair now.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell anyone." And, so yeah, I watch the Netflix shows as well. But we have a brainwave state, alpha and theta brainwaves, where our brain is very open to suggestions. And that can be a very great thing. So when we're children, their brain waves are in this state until they're about 7, which is why they're so open to learning languages and walking and talking, and they're little sponges. And then as we get older, these brain waves change. We know it's a heck of a lot harder to learn some of these things. But it's also why we're so influenced at that age, right? We soak up situations and experiences and they go in a little vault. So in hypnosis, we just put you in those brain waves intentionally through like a meditation, it feels like, just like when you listen to soft music or a guided meditation. So and it's very relaxing. We talk the whole time. People don't realize that. And you hear the dog barking, you can say, "Hey, I got to go to the bathroom." It's fine, and come back. I'll put you right back in a minute. And you have control. I don't think anyone would sign up for losing control. I know I wouldn't. And
Mhm.
so it's very natural. And we get to the root. We ask your mind, "Hey, what's the root of this sabotage, of smoking, of whatever it is that you want to work on?" And your brilliant mind will go back to experiences and moments when these beliefs first started. And from there, we put together a story of when these beliefs were formed and created. And from there, then we change them and rewire them. And I create an audio recording for people to listen to, because the brilliant thing about our mind is that it can change a belief through neuroplasticity. We get to change how we feel and believe things. And that's incredible. We don't have to believe this thing just because it's always been that way. It's just not the truth about us. We get to listen to something and it literally changes how we believe something and how we feel in a matter of weeks, maybe a month or so, but that's pretty quick when you've been believing something that's untrue about yourself for 20, 30 years. It's pretty quick. So,
Mhm.
so sabotage is so often connected to rejection, a feeling of rejection, a feeling of not feeling good enough. So, a common human thing for all of us is to need to feel connected and to avoid rejection. So sabotage is often linked to, I'm doing this thing to avoid rejection. No matter what country you live in, no matter what religion, culture, we're going to do whatever we need to do. It's a primal need to feel connected. If back in the caveman days, if you're booted out, you're not going to live. So this is this primal thing to need to feel liked, need to feel enough. So, it doesn't feel like, we might logically say, I don't really care if people like me on social media or at work if I say that thing and they don't like my idea. The thing about our subconscious mind is it's 95% more powerful than our conscious mind. So logic does not trump your subconscious mind. So we all think we're fancy pants and we're smart and all these things, but our subconscious mind, whatever belief you have, is going to knock that down. So we think like, yeah, I'm confident. I know what I'm talking about. I have a degree. These people are going to listen. Yeah, but if you have a little belief that, yeah, but when you speak up, people don't listen. That's a thing that's going to like shut you down in a meeting. That is a thing that's gonna shut you down in a relationship. Yeah, but people don't listen to you. People don't care what you say. So it's gonna just shut you down and make you say, "You're not even listening to me when I talk," in a relationship. It's gonna make you break up when nothing's really going on. It's gonna make you run out the door when you get in an argument, and your partner's standing there going, "What are you doing? What are you doing? I was talking to you." So, you know,
Done here.
yeah, yeah, or go eat, like, when you're not hungry, like, I need to feel better. So
Yeah.
because we need to connect and feel something. So it's a disconnection, and we are finding a way and to connect in some way. And so it's linked to could be for many, many beliefs, but it's an I'm not enough in some way.
Yeah, yeah, some sort of limiting belief, right? Where you're
Exactly.
just and it's funny because when you were describing the process, it's very much like when I use as an equus coach, I use horses as my feedback loop,
So
and
powerful, I bet.
they can see right through all of that stuff. Like you mentioned about something happens to you and it gets locked away in the vault.
Mhm.
Don't wanna bring it up. It's stored in our body somewhere.
Yeah.
And the horses, because they are prey animals and they're always assessing if they're safe, if they're not, and whatever else is going on, they're syncing with your internal biorhythms, right? And they
There
can
are.
sense those things. So if you're being incongruent and you're saying, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm smart, I'm this, I'm that," right? The horse is like, no,
No.
you're you're covering something up there, and I don't feel good about that."
They just feel it, and, your subconscious mind is your body.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
your
Yeah.
body, and that's why, we say, "I feel sick to my stomach."
Mhm,
Okay? I have my chest is tight. It's these emotions in our body, and some people can't, they can't express it, but they might feel it, right?
mhm.
My throat is tight, or this traffic is killing me. We use these words, so we all express it differently. But yeah, our subconscious mind is our body. It's stuck in our body. We know that one. Um, and and I love that saying, where a tear won't shed, it will find another organ to weep. And illness is actually a big thing that people will come to me for with hypnotherapy, because it's not usually the first place they go. But when a doctor will often say, I can't figure out what's wrong with you. There is no diagnosis for you. It doesn't mean you don't have symptoms, doesn't mean you're not suffering. And they'll come to me. I mean, just the other day, I had someone come. She says, I have these sudden anaphylactic allergic reactions, and I've been to over 10 doctors. I have no allergies. What's going on? There's typically some emotional issue going on, or belief, or irritable bowel syndrome is a big one, or migraines is a big one. And we 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 heal these things through hypnotherapy because there's an emotional belief going on that's creating a physical ailment or issue. So yeah.
Yeah, the body is an interesting thing. It is all the systems work together, and like you said, if you're not honoring a feeling or something one way, it's like water. Water will find the path of least resistance and it'll come out another way. It'll just
Yes,
find its
yes.
way through, oh, here's an outlet. Okay. And it might be your gut or whatever, headache,
Mhm.
whatever you said, so many things. So many.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
very cool. Um, and you're also a Reiki master as well. I'm second level Reiki, so
Mm.
more the practitioner. I just didn't go for the master, because I didn't wanna teach, but I might go back, you never know. But energy is a big thing, and I work with energy a lot, especially, like I said, with the horses, and I can sense energy. Like, if I, as a real estate agent, I walk into a house. I've been showing houses before, and I would have walked into a house and been like, no.
I bet. I
No,
bet.
thank you. Yeah, gotta get out of here. And my clients would be looking at me like, "What is going on with you?" I'm like,
I bet you do. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
Edge
yeah,
here, yeah, I can just feel it." But I think energy is really important. Do you wanna talk about that a little bit? Because
yeah.
I think they all really kinda work together.
Oh, for sure. The reason I became a Reiki master is when I first started doing this, I started getting sick. I would, after a session, have to run and I would get sick
Oh,
because I
interesting.
wasn't able to manage all the energy from the clients. I was a little guppy doing this. And of course, I knew about energy. I was aware, and it's something was in my life, but I still wasn't able to manage other people's emotions and energy. So I started studying Reiki because someone said, you need to learn how to protect your energy more. And so that certainly helped. But I remember thinking, I just left my career to do this, and now I'm running and, getting sick. But what I have found is yeah, that's mixing this all together and clearing people's energy. And oftentimes I'll say, before we do any hypnotherapy, I really feel we need to do some Reiki healing and just clear your energy or calm your nervous system so that you're open to this healing and in a place of receiving, and and in a clear open channel, to be open. And it's been with children, and I do it mostly remote. I have clients all over the world, which people will say, how does that work? Well, it's energy. You don't have to be a
Right?
person. So yeah, it's really, to me, I couldn't do this work without that energy piece of clearing blocked energy and allowing their energy to flow, helping their being a channel to help their energy flow and help the healing take place. And to welcome in, this new, installing these helping them install these new beliefs, the new rewiring that's going on so that they can become who they're meant to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with the energy work. I mean, anytime you're interacting with someone, I mean, it's like I put on an energy bubble if I go to Costco, right? There's so much stuff flying around there, like, "Whoa, no, thank you."
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
And if I
but
forget, I can tell.
yeah, but, you're protecting yourself, and then also, it was funny because I was having this conversation on my other podcast with my, co-facilitator, my EQUIS co-facilitator, and we were talking about bubbling up, right?
Yeah.
And taking care. It's not like you're putting up your shields like Star
No.
Trek, but you are definitely creating a squishy layer of stuff so that if something, sticks to you, you can brush it off when you're done and clear it off. Because when I first started working with horses, similar to what you were talking about as a massage therapist, I was driving home and I felt exhausted. I felt like, oh my God. I realized that that horse was still attached to me. All of the stuff that they had been carrying around in their body, I had absorbed energetically. And I was like, whoa, I got to pull over and just have a moment to clear this out.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it was interesting. But I have noticed that, and it's the same thing when you're around somebody who I'll call an energy vampire, right? Where they just want to, like the Dementors, they just want to suck the life out of you. And you have to be like, not going to happen.
Yeah, and now, when I need a boost in my energy or my business, I'll try to schedule more Reiki sessions because it is so incredible. I mean, I get the healing I feel, and it's so rejuvenating and energy. It's such a good energy feeling for me when I need that, or I feel like I need a little boost or something for me. It's like, okay, I want to do some more Reiki.
Yeah.
I'll run a special or I'll do something because it just feels so good. And it's like, ooh, I get to get that too from, get a little extra boost. So,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just amazing. I love it. I love it so much.
It is
Um,
fun. And it's a nice tool to have in your toolbox, right? And it's just like, it's not just one thing. Like, when I was reading your bio, it's not just one thing. It's all of these things blended together in this beautiful, healing soup, I'll call it.
It is, because they do the theta healing, medical intuitive, it's like, how do you explain it all? But it's it's a mixture of everything, and I think just at the end of the day is, any at any point in our life where we have disconnected from ourself, and for me, an energy source that's bigger than us, then this is all just about finding that point and going back and reconnecting with ourselves and that energy source. And so if that's reconnecting with what are those beliefs that you began to believe about yourself that aren't true, go back and find that center and that point, and I promise you, you'll find that you are enough, and you are meant to be happy, and it will be very easy for you to start speaking your truth and finding the job you want or the relationship or getting rid of the person that you're people pleasing to death, or do those things that you want to do, or stop buying all the stuff, or once you get there,
Yeah.
because all these things that we do, or stop trying to worry about the judgment or the comparinitis and all the things once we get there. And I'm not perfect. I do all these things all the time too and have to check myself all the time. But that's when I know I'm disconnected from myself or something higher.
Yeah. When you do start to build that awareness, it's easier to then come back to your center and
Yeah.
come back to yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Can you tell me about, I mean, without getting into somebody's business so much, but is there a particular session? I mean, I know you were talking about the person with the anaphylactic, reaction,
Yeah.
uh, something where someone came to you and you saw like the biggest transformation, or I don't know if you have a good example of someone that
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
a way that is miraculous, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. I mean, there's health examples. I'm thinking, I'm for some reason this particular client is coming to mind, but she has a huge coaching business and very successful, and she's coming to mind, I think, because I don't. I think some people think there has to be something really, really wrong, and there doesn't. And she was very successful, think life is good, and yet she hit a wall in her business, and she's like, I can't get to the next level. Like, I can't. I think she wanted to create a bigger program, a bigger part of her business. She ran her own business. And when we started to explore, like, why she can't do these, it was like videos for a program, videos for something. She's like, I've hired the videographer, I've done all the things, and I've canceled like 5 times because I can't speak in the camera. And she had her own business for over 20 years. And when we started to dig and deeper and deeper and deeper, it was a very controlling parent who, you gotta have your fork this way, you gotta have this way, and the beliefs were so deep. She had done a lot of healing, a lot of things, but the belief was there that when you hit your upper limit and you go there, these things come back out. So I feel it's important for people to know just because you've worked on something doesn't mean you don't work on it again. And I find sometimes we have shame that here I go again. I've got to work on it again. No, you're healing, you're evolving. It's okay. You're meant to do that. Like you're leveling up in life. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. She was meant to go there again and peel it back. And she was like angry at herself. Like, I've already healed that. In fact, she said, I don't want to talk about him again. I'm not going to talk about him again. I'm like, well, we're going to talk about him again because it's coming up. And this is where your mind, your brilliant mind, your soul wants to go again. And once we did it, I mean, her business like triple, quadrupled in size, but it wasn't about money. It wasn't about her business. It was about freedom that she had. She didn't need another dime. It was about the freedom she had to just express herself because she truly wanted to help people with this program. Her heart really wanted to help people. And so there's so many stories of people, curing, and I'm not supposed to say the word cure, but it really, helping themselves with physical ailments and things and reconnecting with children and people that they've, hadn't mended relationships with. But sometimes we put these rules on ourselves, like, check that, healed that, not going to do that again. And, let's get over ourselves and allow ourselves to go back and revisit things. And maybe we're meant, let it be and allow ourselves to welcome in healing when it's in front of us.
Yeah, that's a great example. And there's a couple things. Yes, she had reached a certain plateau. And like you said, if you want to level up, you may have to go back and revisit the same thing that you thought you had gotten beyond because it allowed you to get to this point, but now you're dealing with a different level of that thing,
Are
right? So
there are
even within whatever thing it is, trauma or whatever, there's layers within that. So, and the fact that she had such a visceral reaction to, I'm not talking about that anymore.
She
I'm
did.
not going back there. It's like, whoa, there's clearly some healing
There's
there
clearly
that
some
needs to
healing
take,
there. There's
still
clearly
a little raw.
Exactly, and it was such freedom, like, she dressed different after that, she behaved different, her children and her got closer together, so this was definitely not about, "Now I get to do the videos for my program," this was really like a let loose type of freedom afterward. That was really nice to see.
Yeah, well, it sounds like, I have clients as well where I ask them to set an intention when they go into the arena to work with the horse directly. And 9 times out of 10, the intention that they set going in, like in your client's case was the video,
Yeah.
freezing up about making videos, was not what the outcome
I
was. So,
Yeah, that little pebble, that ripple effect that it happens,
yeah,
they look and go, "Wow, I didn't think that was gonna happen,"
yeah,
or "That was gonna happen," because when we heal, the people around us heal, and things happen that we least expected, and people respond, life responds to us differently because the energy changes everywhere.
yeah. Absolutely, and I've noticed that myself in my own journey.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I can totally relate to that.
phone calls start coming in, things start happening.
Yeah, people treat you differently, you treat yourself differently, like you
Mhm.
said, You start taking more risks. Not that I've ever had a problem taking risks, but uh,
I don't get that impression.
I don't. Oh, that's wonderful. Is there anything else that you feel called to talk about right
You know
now in your practice and so forth?
I think just that whatever people feel stuck in, it doesn't have to be hypnotherapy. There's other ways to get unstuck. There's EFT tapping, there's what you do, there's what I do. But there are ways to get unstuck. And I think most people are starting to understand that traditional talk therapy where you sit on the couch at 3 o'clock every Friday for a very long time, that's one way for sure. And I've done that and it's helped, but it doesn't have to take a long time. And that was one of the reasons I chose this type of hypnotherapy is it's called rapid transformational therapy. It's fast and it can be as quick as 1 or 2 sessions. And so, I just want people to know that things can be quick. This belief that we have that something is harder, takes longer is a belief. It isn't the truth. There's a saying if you're familiar with the Course in Miracles that there is no order of difficulty in miracles. There isn't somebody above saying, "Oh, that's a really hard one. Oh shit, that's
I need
hard."
to suffer a little bit longer.
Longer.
Sorry.
Yeah, like, "Oh shit, that's hard." That's not how it works. So, like, let's just scratch that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's great. Yes, I think there are so many, and it's not a bad thing to try different things because one thing may, resonate with you more than another, or one modality may like, okay, somebody who's been in talk therapy for 5 years or whatever, they may just be like, okay, this is really not going anywhere. And then they come to someone like you or someone like me. And like you said, in a session or two, they're
And it
like, whoa, it just like cracked through this
exactly.
whatever it was. Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
perfect timing.
Yeah. So whatever it is, don't be afraid to seek help is what I'm hearing you say, and that it's not always going to be, a 10-year journey. Like you said, it may come back to haunt you at some point and you need a little refresher.
Yes, yes.
So, what is the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to work with you?
Sure, sure. So my website, ChristinaLWoods.com, and /free, I have free download, 10 Days of Wisdom. I have a hypno meditation on there for people to try out. So ChristinaLWoods.com.
Perfect. All right. Are you on any of the socials?
Yeah, Christina.lwoods Instagram is probably the best way to find me, but I'm on all of them.
Excellent. I love it. All right, Christina, this has been a really fun and enlightening conversation. And I hope that whoever is out there listening, that this resonated with you. And if it did, great. Take it to heart, get in touch with Christina. And if you know somebody else who this might resonate with, then please share this episode, subscribe, and so we don't want you to miss any of these juicy topics that I bring up on the show. And give us a good rating and follow us. And like I said, share it with a friend. Everything is better when you share it with a friend or somebody who's not a friend. Sharing is caring. I'm just kidding. Where did that come from? Oh my God. All right. Thank you, Christina, for your time today and your wisdom and your
Thank
empathy and
you.
all of your good stuff. I appreciate having you on.
Thank you.
And where's the Thank you for listening to today's episode of A Life Worth Being. I hope you found it fun and inspiring. And to avoid a bad case of FOMO, please be sure to click that subscribe button. If you love what you heard today, please share it with a friend and then hop on over to your favorite podcast platform and return the love with a wonderful review and 5-star rating. It would truly mean the world to me. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and on my website. Links below in the show notes. I appreciate you, and I will see you next week for more fresh insights on awakening a life worth being.